Sunday morning in the city of Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. My name is Daglola Ogunshaki. Let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies. I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Rivers Assembly crisis. RSVG, PDP, G27 lawmakers disagree over seats. Our defection constitutional. Rivers PDP in crisis. And G27's claim mischievous. PDP remains united. Your seat remain vacant. RVSG tells factional legislators. Rivers APC will be strong. That's coming from Tony Okocha and CTC chairman. Alleged draft of Abuja court judgment surfaces. APC must take responsibility for crisis in Rivers. That's according to Lukman. You can see that story on page 5. And moving on, here there's a picture showing Pastor Enoch Adeboye praying for the new show of Ogbomosho, Afolabi Olaoye and Oloriomo at an interdenominational Thanksgiving service for the new show of Ogbomosho held at the Baptist Conference of Ogbomosho, Oyo State yesterday. You can see that inside Vanguard newspaper on page 19, Financial Vanguard. Our MDAs corporation failed to incur 80% federal government assets. On page 13, Kano Guba. No plan to influence Supreme Court judgments according to APC and according to Willa Kemfari on page 17. It says appointing mainly career ambassadors would also ensure that many of them spending this 35 years in service would cap their career with ambassador posting rather than the ambassadors in situations. Now on page 37, sport, Orban can't play for Nigeria. That's according to Togo. And on page 25, war against judiciary, enough is enough. That's according to SANS. Electricity generation drops by 4% in 3 months. You can see that on page 9. And right above the banner, we have a clerk to CJ at Ariwola. Tackle corruption malpractices in judiciary. 61 migrants, mostly Nigerians, Gambians, die in Libya shipwreck. That's according to UN agency. Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo polls. Serap wants INEC to prosecute electoral offenders. You can see that on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now the Guardian. Guardian is leading with federal government firms trade jobs as illegal expatriates take over economy. You can see that on page 6. And on page 6, still pro-Wike lawmakers re-strategize to oust Fubara, vow to claim Rivers. Kano residents won't accept injustice. Deputy Governor warns. Serap sues INEC for failing to prosecute electoral offenders in Bayelsa, Kogi and Imo. Now the Punch newspaper. Punch is leading with Christmas shoppers condemn Naira scarcity, ATMs dry up. Poultry dealers, local stores insist on cash, consumers buy Naira notes from petty traders. Customers lament are cheap, audio worsens. CBN expects banks to disperse more cash. You can see that on page 2. And stories below on page 4. 3 died, 7 injured in Lagos Ibadan Express crash. U.S. lawmakers want Nigeria on concern list over blasphemy killings. And that's all on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Now the Nation. Nation is leading with Lalong resigns from FEC. Former Labour and Employment Minister options to take Plateau Southern Senate seats. And here there's a statement here. It says that President Tinubu has accepted Minister of Labour and Employment Simon Lalong's resignation from the cabinet. His valedictory will hold at the next FEC meeting. You can see that on page 4. Rivers Assembly 27. Our defection constitutional. You can see that on page 5. And stories are bold. We have a why ideas top show of Ogbomosho from title by Adeboye. Nigeria is President Cambridge Varsity College. Business pullout. It says inflation slow down likely from next month. Investors target shares of big banks and Wema Bank to raise 40 billion. Lastly on the Punch newspaper, death in the water. Fears anguish over boreholes. You can see that on pages 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break as our guest will be analyzing these stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today the News of Vanguard Life. My name is Damlola Okunshaki. Joining us to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Aliu Mohammed. He's the CEO of Magnet Communications, former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, Mr. Aliu.
Good morning. How are you? Are you seeing the signs of Christmas already?
Yes, I was about to ask you that. And of course, Christmas shoppers, they are talking about the Naira scarcity and different things. I mean, last week we visited the Lagos Balogun market, and some people were complaining. But what do you have to say about people that have been around?
Unfortunately, there is Naira scarcity at this time. It is making things difficult for people, especially the very poor people around us. They believe that it's a deliberate attempt by both government and those in charge of our economy to punish the people. But I keep saying that it's a strategic error in the administration of our country, that at this time there is scarcity of the Naira, the price of goods, the price of food are up. They're rising by the day. Unfortunately, there is no money to buy those things that you may want to buy for Christmas. So we have to sit down and adjust our budget, adjust our beds, and make sure that we try as much as we can to have a little enjoyment during the Christmas. It's unfortunate that we are in this kind of situation, but it can be better.
But what do you think is the cause of the Naira scarcity?
I wouldn't know. We should ask the CBN about that, because we thought with Emefiele's exit from the CBN, we should have a stable system of systems in terms of the operations of our banks. But unfortunately, it's like we have gone back to the Emefiele days, which was caused by the change of the currency that we had at that time. How do we come out of the present situation? We are still spending the new Naira notes, we are spending the old one, yet we are having a serious problem. I went into one of the banks on Friday. I wanted 200,000. They were able to give me 5,000. 5,000, and I wondered what I could do with that 5,000. I went into the bank myself. I said, I wrote my check, give me 200,000. And I needed that cash. They said, no, we can't give you 200,000, sir. What can you give me? They said 5,000. And they counted 2020 Naira, 5,000. I rejected it. I would rather go to the POS operators and pay for what I want. It is embarrassing that our banks cannot perform their duties the way they ought to.
But if we're not getting money from the bank, how is this money getting to the POS operators? Because now they've increased their...
You can ask that question many times. But if you go to a POS operator and you want 50,000, they will give it to you. But there are no currencies in our banks. That's the kind of environment, a very corrupt environment that we are. So how does the money get to the POS operators? If you want 100,000, they will give it to you, provided you are able to give them their whatever percentage they want. I picked 50,000 from two of them, 25,000. And I had to pay only 1,000.
Collect them?
Yes.
All right, now let's move to Rivers State. The G27 faction of Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Mr. Martins, the People's Democratic Party, and the state government yesterday, they disagreed over the vacancy of seats in the states. And they said that because their defection from PDP to the APC was constitutional and due to the crisis rocking the PDP in the states. But what do you think about the defection? And what
I don't want to talk about the defection. I think all the things going on in Rivers State is outright nonsense. You have somebody who was the governor of that state for 8 years. He has left. Is now a minister in Abuja. You still want to be ruling that state by proxy? Somebody should sit down and call UK to order. If it is politics, I think it should stop. Because what happened in Rivers State last week is nothing but an attempted coup against the sitting government of that state. Forget about the politics they are playing, that you are the one that bought from, you are the one that funded this campaign, you are the one, yes, you have funded this campaign. For God's sake, he is the governor today. So let the man rule in that state, people who have sense should talk to Wike. He should stop that nonsense. He should stop it, because if somebody else was doing that to Wike as the governor, will he accept that kind of nonsense? Will he accept it? I think the president should sit Wike down and talk to him, because from Rivers State we could have a serious constitutional crisis if it is not well managed, and it is brewing. In the next few days it can turn into a very violent situation. So the president should call Wike to order. Fubara is the governor of Rivers State. Constitutionally, as at today, he is the governor of Rivers State. Nobody can govern that state by proxy, whoever that person will be. We are talking about godfatherism, and it should stop today with what is going on in Rivers State. If it is not carefully handled, it can turn into a major crisis in that part of this country.
Well, as you said,
already we are having people marching out in support of Fubara. So if Wike goes there to want to cause trouble, we can imagine what already the State House of Assembly has been demolished. Is that to the credit of the state government? Is that to the what has happened? The demolition of that House of Assembly, is it not going to affect the people? Is it not going to spend another hard-earned money that should be spent on some other things to rebuild that House of Assembly? Somebody should call Wike to order. We shouldn't play politics with a very strict constitutional matter like what is going on in the Rivers State. Somebody, president, should call Wike to order straight. What he's doing is wrong.
But like you said,
it's like you sending me to school and you now say you want to tell me how to run my life because you sent me to school. No.
Like you said, this is godfatherism playing out, and you said the president should call into order. If the president calls into order, will this not affect the PDP party? Because some people are already saying that it's playing in favor of the APC party.
Look, I'm not looking at who is there to gain from what is going on. What I'm saying is that we may have a major crisis from the problem that is brewing in Rivers State. PDP may be enjoying the game now because of the human factor of Wike in this scenario. But at the end of the day, if the Rivers people move against Wike, at the end of the day, who is going to lose? He will lose, and it will have a spiral effect not only on APC but the president who elected Wike. That is why the president must sit down and call him to order. This is no more a game of politics. No. Have you not heard of situations where a crisis will engulf the country from one part of it? It has happened before in the history of Nigeria. There was a crisis in the north, and it should not also forget that that guy is an executive governor. If he knows tomorrow that Wike cannot come to that state, he won't come, and nothing will happen. He won't come. He will land at the airport, they will block the road, and if he attempts to do it, he could get himself killed. We don't toy with the powers of a state governor. That is the truth of the matter. So if the president doesn't want a crisis that may engulf the nation, if it starts from that part of the country, then he should call Wike to order. Nobody can try that with me. You sent me to school and you are saying that you must control my life. No. If our parents that sent us to school did that to us, none of us will become adults today. So you should let that guy administer Rivers State and let him take over. If he likes, let him go and bulldoze all the houses in Abuja. Nobody cares about that. But you should let this guy concentrate on governance.
All right, let's move away from that and talk about this one. So, blatant abuse of expatriate quota rule by foreign companies, the rising number of undocumented foreign workers, and the underhand dealings of local capitalists in expatriate recruitment are currently driving Nigeria deeper into unemployment crisis. And the government agencies.
That agency is the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and under that ministry we have the immigration and all other paramilitary agencies at the ports of entry into the country. It is unfortunate that we have illegal aliens taking over our economy in this country. Go to Ikeja. All the factories that you see in Ikeja now are owned by Chinese. They operate 24 hours. You see small girls going there to get employed. They can employ somebody today and terminate that person's employment the following week, pay him peanuts and send them away, bring in another group of people, recruit them for 1 month, send them away. You see people always queuing at the entrance of those factories and nobody is doing anything. You have illegal, go out and see Chinese restaurants in Lagos. You see them being accompanied by mobile policemen. These are illegal aliens. Why would somebody who is doing a proper business in Nigeria, a legal business in Nigeria, being about with mobile policemen? So the Ministry of Internal Affairs must sit down and address this issue properly, because these are things that ought to have been handled by Nigerians. You see Chinese coming into Nigeria, buying up every space and running illegal factories. Nigerians get injured in the process of working for them. They are thrown out without any compensation. It is happening. They are doing an investigation very well. It is happening every day. They will employ Nigerians to work on some dangerous machines and they lose their hands. At the end of the day, they will be given peanuts and thrown out of employment.
Mr. Now, there's an interesting update here. Chairman of Joint Committee, Adams Oshowole, told the ministers that he alleged that he has it on good authorities that prisoners from foreign lands are working in Nigeria as construction workers.
Yes.
That they are shipped to our countries to serve their
visitors. Yes, I have heard about that too, especially the Chinese criminals that have been sentenced to various prison terms are brought, imported or drafted to Nigeria to come and serve their terms in various Chinese companies. At the end of their stay here, or at the end of serving their term here, they are repatriated back to their own countries. It is unfortunate. I say it's very serious allegation, which we should investigate here. If it is true, all those concerned must be arrested and put in prison here. And because why will Nigeria become a base for criminals to come and work? How many Nigerians go to India to serve their terms? Do we have such an agreement with the India or Chinese government? No, I don't think we have. The only agreement we have with the Chinese government is in terms of the use of currencies. There is this agreement that you go to India, you can spend the Naira, and if you are here from India, you can spend your currency. And that aspect of a bilateral agreement with China is not being implemented. You still see people going to China buying dollars to spend there. So what happened to that bilateral agreement, on the bilateral currency agreement between Nigeria and China? Instead, we have an exchange of criminals to come and serve here. It is wrong. Those criminals that can be identified and they are still in Nigeria should be arrested and put in the right place where they should belong, and that is the Nigerian prison.
Lastly, let's quickly look at this one. So 61 migrants, including women and children from Nigeria, Gambia and other African countries, have drowned following a shipwreck off Libya. That's according to United Nations Agency, and they're trying to cross through the Mediterranean Sea. What do you think about
that? That is, yes, you've said it. That is what you get when you have people who want to travel abroad and they want to go through the back door. You go from Nigeria to Chad to Libya through the Mediterranean Sea, and you sit in I don't know whether they should be called ships. Those are not proper ships. You see those ships and you see a lot of people around the edge of the ship. I mean, do those people really value their lives? You don't say because you must travel abroad, you now take illegal route, and at the end of the day, you won't get to where you are going, and you have already left Nigeria. It is unfortunate that we had such a large number of people that died in that shipwreck. It is unfortunate. It's a call on our leaders to sit down and see what they can do to the problem of poverty ravaging Nigeria as at today. Even those of us that are working very hard.
Well, recently, I spoke to someone who recently moved to the abroad, and according to them, they didn't just travel because of the poverty rate or because of the employment. They also travel because of security issues in Nigeria. According to them, children can't move around the country now without fear of them being kidnapped or without anything wrong happening to them with all these Yahoo boys and different things going on in the country. So it's a matter of security and poverty and unemployment.
I agree with what you are saying, but the security situation
and also the health sector.
I will touch that. The security situation is not as bad as people are exaggerating it. With some caution, you and I have not been kidnapped. Those of us in this studio have not been kidnapped. By the time you sit down and start saying insecurity, yes, there is insecurity. It's a matter. There is insecurity all over the world, not only in Nigeria. We've heard of high criminal cases in the US, especially in New York. Same thing in India. Same thing in the UK. Recently, I read about a student that has joined a cult in a UK school. He was now asked to perform a feat, and the feat he performed was to shoot his colleague in the leg. Did that happen in Nigeria? We exaggerate the things that are happening in Nigeria. If you watch where you go in Nigeria, you can't get kidnapped. You cannot get kidnapped. If you are going to anywhere, you have to be at alert. If you are entering a bus and you discover that the bus is taking off and you are just 1, 2, 3 in that bus, rush down. Don't stay inside it. It will be difficult for anybody to rob a full bus. You might just be 1, 2 or 3, and you now have a bus filled with 15 people. It will be difficult. 2 or 3 people cannot handle all the 15 people in a bus. But what I see in Nigeria is that the bus will be loading either Ikeja somewhere, and you will start moving with 3 passengers. And those 3 passengers will not talk.
But sometimes they put their members in the bus.
Of course they do. That's why I'm saying take buses loading from bus stops. Don't stay on the side of the road to enter buses. Somebody that I know came to NIN office in Alausa. He got down, finished everything he came back to do, crossed to the other side, and he entered the private car going to Ketu. Why will you take a private car going to Ketu? There are buses there in front of ShopRite leading Ketu. And from there they took him to Akute Road, robbed him off his money. They asked him, they put a gun on his head, asked him to transfer the money in his account, and and showed him some dollars, that if he wanted the dollars, he should go back home and look for more money. They started harassing him. They dropped him at Akute Road. He was going to Ketu. They dropped him at Akute Road and said, go back home. If you have more money, make sure you bring it. If you don't bring that money, you are going to die. And he went to the house, stole all the money in the house, and took it back to them. I mean, is that what did anybody follow him back home? No! But the guy got carried away by the threat. Sometimes you have to be sensible. You have escaped. And because they threatened you that you will die in 24 hours if you don't bring money, and you started stealing your father's money. But Mr. Lee, we grew up in this environment. There was a time I didn't have a car, and we had these cases of people that would carry people, kidnap them, and rob them. It's been there for years. It's not a new dimension. What is new in Nigeria today is kidnapping and ransom taking. We didn't grow up with that in Nigeria. That's a new dimension. But all these kidnapping and 419 thing has been there for long. And by the grace of God, some of us have not fallen victim. Because when you are on the road, you have to be at alert. That is the truth.
But this is the reason why people are leaving the country.
It is those who want to leave. The same reason why they wanted to leave Nigeria had to go and board ships illegally, and they have all died. We have to be careful. Somebody came and wanted to leave and he lost 12 million. If you have 12 million, what are you going to do abroad? Answer now. So this thing is it varies. That's the truth of the matter. The guys will say between that time, let's say so this is it. Let's sit down and consider what we can do here before jackpotting.
Alright, let's end this on a lighter note with Mrs. And the first person speaking is Mrs. And there's a cake on the table with lighted candles. It says, dear, it's your birthday. May God bless you with all good things of life. May He send all strange women away from. And Mr. Ifly, the last prayer is unnecessary. God doesn't need such requests on a day like this.
Why should you pray to God to send other women away from your husband?
But other women was good.
It's not about them. You never can say, I have seen other women helping the husbands to even own homes. So you can't drive other women away from the life of a man.
Alright, Mr. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much too.
Yes, and this is a wrap to try to continue. My name is Dagola Ogunshaki. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on the screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Have a lovely Monday.